And so what I'm looking at for this Lenten season is a series I've called Take a Step Closer. Take a step closer. One step. Take a step closer. And today I want to talk about take a step closer to Jesus. You might think, well, what else is there? You know, he's going to give us everything in the first week. But, I mean, Jesus is everything. So let's start there. Let's take a step closer to Jesus. How do you feel about working on your relationship with God? You know, working on your faith. Don't we naturally kind of recoil against that kind of language? Because isn't that works righteousness? Isn't that working for our faith? You know, isn't that doing something for God and there's nothing we can do for our salvation? Well, let's explore that a little bit. The doctrine of grace is that salvation is a free gift, that Christ has come to save you freely, and it's nothing of yourself. There's nothing that you can do for your own salvation. And he calls you to himself not because of anything we've done, but because of what he's done, because of his great love for us. He reaches out to us and draws us to himself. That's salvation. And he says, follow me. Follow me is not static. Follow me is not nothing. Follow me is a call for us to do something, to be engaged in the relationship. See, a relationship is something that we follow in. A relationship is something we participate in. You know, there's no law that says you must eat, is there? I haven't heard of such a law. I mean, there could be. There's been a lot of new laws recently. You know, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Mix with a lot of people, don't mix with... So who knows? There might be a law now that you have to eat. But as far as I'm aware, there's never been a law that says you must eat. But if you don't eat, you will die. There's no law that says you must worship God. Well, actually there is, first commandment. But God doesn't give us that as a law. He gives us as an invitation. He says, come and worship me. Follow me. Actually, let me put it in another way. God says to us through Jesus, come to me and join in a relationship with me which will take you from the depths of sin to the heights of heaven. Join with me in a relationship and join with me in mission, and we'll walk together through this life and find out what we can do together. I have a plan for you. I have a big plan for this earth which involves you and includes you, and you have a place in my plan for you. And so he invites us into this relationship with him. There's no law that says we must. Your salvation is not under threat if you don't enter fully into the relationship. It's not a law, it's an invitation. But by the same token, if we don't eat, we will die. If we don't participate in this relationship which Jesus offers us, how long do you think our salvation will last? Our saving relationship with him? Because it's not a contract that we've signed and Jesus has signed. It's not a thing on paper or a static thing. It's a relationship. And relationships require participation from both people. How long do you think the relationship lasts if we don't do something about it, if we don't work on it? You know, that's what you're doing here this morning, isn't it? You're actually working on your relationship with Jesus. That's what you're doing. You're saying, look, I've don't know, spend some time in God's house. I want to hear His word. I want to sing a few hymns. I want to do this stuff, these things which me and God do together. And maybe I've done it before, and maybe it's old hat. But I want to do this because this is what me and God do together. And so I'm going to participate in that. See, it's not works righteousness. But then again, by the same token, it's not an optional extra. It's essential. It's difficult thinking about things like relationships, isn't it? Much easier if it was a contract. You know, if it was works righteousness, it'd be so much easier. We could tick off the works we've done properly and, yep, we'll be saved. No, it's not like that. It's a relationship. You and Jesus, working on a relationship together. That's what I want to talk about. Working on this relationship that I have with Jesus. This relationship that He's called me into. This relationship which was born by His own blood as He died on the cross for me. This relationship which has given me new life and has given me the hope of heaven, given me so much more than I could ever dream of, giving me so much more than I deserve, and giving me life forever. But also the opportunity to bring this life to this lost world and to bring healing and hope and salvation to the community around me. This is the relationship which we have. It takes such a long time to say, doesn't it? Because there's so much in it. It's like human relationships. You know, it's so difficult to explain them, isn't it? The type of relationship we have. Well, I'm married to my wife, and so a lot of people have a general understanding of what that means. But the specifics of a relationship, well, no, a lot of you probably simply wouldn't understand. A lot of you would probably go, you're just weird. Or you understand because, yep, you have the weirdnesses of your relationship, and I understand that because we have the weirdnesses of our relationship, and you wouldn't understand what we do together, but that's what makes up our relationship. And it'll probably take you hours to explain it. It's worth working on your relationships, isn't it? It's worth thinking about that. And maybe if this is a little spin-off, a little subtitle of this message, that you work on your relationships a little bit, that maybe Lent is a time where you not only work on your relationship with God, but you work on your relationship with one another, then all the better. But I want to invite you. Jesus invites you to take a step closer to Him. Because, see, this is not about, this Christian faith is not about, you know, we come here today to worship, but it's not about the worship, is it? We sit in these pews and we say a few things backwards and forwards and we hear some reading, but it's not that. Yeah, that's part of it, but that doesn't encompass it. It's trying to live a good life, but it's not that. It's so many things that, I suppose from the outside, you know, when people try and describe what Christianity's about, and you go, no, it's nothing to do with that. You know, they say, oh, you gather together, you holy people, you gather together and then you go off and live your life. And you think, no, that's such a caricature of it. It's not even real. This Christian faith is about Jesus. All of this stuff we do is because He died on the cross for us. And we look at that and we think about that and we think, what else can I do but worship Him? What else can I do but follow Him? You know, that song, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. I think that captures it. I mean, it uses that word demands, but it's not demand. It demands, look, It demands my life. How do you explain this to someone who doesn't understand? How do we explain it to people outside? I think, my wife demands things from me. She demands my faithfulness. She demands my love. She demands a coffee first thing in the morning. And I give that freely because I want, I long to. It's not a demand, is it? But it is. It's a demand that comes not maybe from her side, but it comes from deep within me as well. And that's the same thing with Jesus, isn't it? That he demands our love. He demands our worship. No, not as a law way. He demands it because he loves us so much, and he demands it, and that demand comes from inside of me. That demand to follow comes from in here somewhere. Jesus has begun something in us, hasn't he? And he calls us closer. So let's think about how we can take a step closer. Can I challenge you to do that this Lent? To take one step. It may not be a big step, but just take one step closer to Jesus. Now, maybe you haven't got a clear picture of what that looks like, and over the next 6 weeks we'll talk about what a step closer looks like. A step closer perhaps in this, a step closer in my worship, a step closer in my devotion. But what can I do that's one step closer to Jesus? Maybe over this time you'll choose to say, well, every morning I have a little devotional time, but I'm going to crank that up a bit. I'm going to get a prayer book or something, and I'm going to pray for the church. I'm going to do that. Or I haven't done much Bible reading, so during this Lent I'm going to read one chapter a day of the Bible. Just spend those 5 to 10 minutes sitting with my Bible and just read through a chapter. Just one step. Maybe in my worship, I start off. Normally I go to church once a fortnight. Well, I'm going to go once a week. I'm going to take a step closer. Maybe I go to church once a month. Well, I'm going to go twice a month. I'm going to take one step closer. Let's take one step closer and see what that does in our relationship. It's not going to do you any harm, is it? Let's find a way during this Lent we can take one step closer to Jesus. We're going to explore what that means over this time, and I hope you'll join me on this journey. And we make it really easy for you because we record these services, and if you miss one, you'll be able to catch up on the website, through the website. It's just one click away. There'll be people watching it online at home, and sorry, I didn't welcome those. Actually, I don't know how they're going at Mount Sylvia at the moment, whether they even got together. They have, they're there, good. Welcome Mount Sylvia, and hope you, well, if you're at church, you're certainly keeping your head above water, but I hope you get home okay and all of that, and don't get too bogged. There's so many so many promises in Scripture about taking a step closer. And it's worded in all sorts of different ways, draw near to me and come near and all of those kinds of things. But they're rapidly followed with a promise. And I think we can sum it up with the words, if you draw near to me, I will draw near to you. This is God's heart. He wants closeness with us. Let's take a step closer. And may God's peace be with you as you experience his closeness and as you seek to experience his closeness a little bit more. Amen.